They built 96 houses on my land, not by mistake, on purpose. 3 years ago, I inherited 47 acres of pine forest in Colorado from my grandfather. Paid off, peaceful, pristine. I hadn't been up there since the funeral. Divorce, work, and 2 kids in college kept me busy. But I always paid the property taxes online every April, $6,400, never late. When I finally decided to visit, I expected to find overgrown trees and silence. Instead, I found a brand new subdivision, paved roads, streetlights, families unloading moving trucks, 96 identical homes standing where my forest used to be, every one of them priced around $500,000. At the gate, a security guard stopped me. "Residents only," he said. "I'm the owner," I told him, showing him the photo of my grandfather's deed on my phone. He laughed. "Sure, buddy, and I'm Jeff Bezos. Turn around." Before I could argue, a white Range Rover pulled up. Out stepped a woman who looked like she'd never worked a hard day in her life. Designer linen outfit, diamond watch, perfect smile. "Problem, Ray?" she asked the guard, ignoring me completely. I repeated, "I own this property. My grandfather bought it in 1971. She gave me that look, the kind that sizes you up and files you under irrelevant. "Oh, how charming," she said, smiling like I was a child. "Sweetheart, if you're looking for construction work, the crews are already full. But I can take your number." "I'm not looking for a job," I said. "I'm the legal owner." Her smile didn't even twitch. "That's adorable." Our title company ran a forensic search. This land was abandoned for over 3 years. Under Colorado statute, it's ours now. "Not if property taxes were paid," I interrupted. She tilted her head. "You know just enough to be dangerous." Then she held out a business card between 2 manicured fingers like it might stain her nails. "Our attorney, Brian Kerr. He'll explain why your claim is frivolous." "How many homes have you sold?" I asked. "All 96, she said proudly. 16 million in pre-sales. Families move in by Thanksgiving." Then her tone sharpened. "If you keep trespassing, I'll call the sheriff myself. We're generous donors to his department's equipment fund." She snapped a picture of my license plate before walking away. "Just in case you decide to vandalize anything. People like you never win against people like us." The smell of diesel and fresh asphalt filled the air as I drove away, hands shaking. She didn't just insult me, she gave me a roadmap for revenge. That night, I spread my grandfather's papers across my kitchen table. The original deed from 1971, every tax receipt since then, and a note he'd left tucked inside. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." I wasn't going to. The next morning, I called the number on that business card. Brian Kerr, attorney at law. His assistant had the kind of polite, distant voice that sounds like she's smiling while doing a crossword. "Mr. Kerr's in depositions all week," she said. "Can I take a message?" "Tell him it's about the Ridgeline Heights property." "My name's Dakota Flint." Silence. Then a little sigh. "Oh yes, Mr. Kerr expected your call. He's authorized me to offer you a settlement." My pulse picked up. "How much?" $15,000, she said, like she was reading off a lunch special. "If you'll sign a quitclaim deed by Friday." I almost laughed. 15 grand for $4 million of land? She didn't answer. I hung up. I'd heard of quitclaim deeds before. From my divorce. That's how my ex-wife got the timeshare in Branson that neither of us wanted. You sign it when you're giving up ownership. No guarantees, no protection. Basically, it's the legal version of saying I give up. I wasn't about to. I needed a real lawyer. Not my divorce guy who charged $2,200 and handled speeding tickets on the side. I needed someone who scared the other side just by showing up in court. My buddy Marcus in Wyoming gave me a name, Lydia Chen. She beat a railroad company in an adverse possession case, he said. They offered her a job just to make her stop suing them. Her consultation fee was $500. I paid it with a credit card and prayed she was worth it. Lydia's office looked like it belonged to someone who didn't waste words. Leather chairs, old wood, the faint smell of lemon polish and money. She was maybe 60, gray hair in a bun, glasses on a chain. She listened to everything I said, didn't interrupt once, just took neat, perfect notes that looked like they belonged in a museum. When I finished, she said one sentence that changed everything. "Show me your tax receipts." I slid a folder across her desk, 47 years worth. Receipts, county records, email confirmations, proof that every single year the taxes were paid. She flipped through them, slow and careful, like a dealer checking a winning hand. Then she smiled. Barely. "Mr. Flint, under Colorado law, adverse possession requires 18 years of open, continuous, hostile possession, and the squatter has to pay the taxes the entire time. You've been paying them. Their claim is dead on arrival. So you'll get an injunction? Stop the construction." She shut the folder. "I could, but that's not what I'd do." "What do you mean?" "I'd let them finish." I blinked. "You want me to let them build on my land?" "Exactly," she said. "If you stop them now, they'll declare bankruptcy, drag it out in court for years, and blame the families who bought those houses. But if you wait, if you let them finish, then file for declaratory judgment, you'll own 96 completed homes. They'll be guilty of fraud. You'll have all the leverage." I sat there stunned. "That sounds insane." "It's brilliant," she said, folding her hands. "They're digging their own grave. You just need to hand them the shovel." I swallowed. "How much will it cost me?" 40, maybe 50,000 in legal fees. "But when we win, and we will, you'll get damages for trespass, fraud, emotional distress, and attorney's fees. You'll either own every house or settle for millions." I had 12 grand in savings, a truck that needed a new transmission, and a tuition payment due for my daughter in January. But I heard my grandfather's voice in my head. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." "I'll figure it out," I said. She nodded. "Then one more thing. Don't contact the developer. Don't post online. Don't tell anyone except your kids. In property law, surprise is worth more than gold." I signed the retainer. My stomach twisted, but it was done. From that day on, I drove past the construction site twice a week. I parked just outside the gates, phone camera rolling. Workers swarmed like ants, framers, plumbers, painters. Every trip, I took time-stamped photos. 3 weeks later, the developer, her name was Cassandra Whitfield, spotted me from across the site. She made a call. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's car pulled up behind me. The deputy was young, uncomfortable. "Sir, I need to see your license." "I'm on a public road," I said, handing it over. He ran my plates, came back frowning. "Mrs. Whitfield says you've been harassing her workers." "I'm documenting construction on my own land," I told him. "Check Boulder County records. Parcel 5593248. Owner, Dakota Flint." He shifted awkwardly. "Look, if it's a civil dispute, that's for court. But if she calls again, I'll have to act. Translation: she donates to his campaign fund." "I don't." He left. I kept filming. By November, families were moving in, U-Hauls, kids on scooters, the smell of pizza and fresh paint. And I felt sick because these people weren't villains. They were victims who thought they were buying their piece of the American dream. Cassandra thought she'd beaten me, but she had no idea she was building her own downfall, one beige house at a time. By Thanksgiving, Ridgeline Heights looked like it had been there forever. Every beige house identical, every mailbox polished. Families were moving in. I'd watched them install pools, plant trees, hang curtains. I felt like a ghost haunting my own land. Then one morning, I got a certified letter at the post office. The return address, Whitfield Development, LLC. The clerk, a woman who'd known my grandfather, wrinkled her nose. "That's that fancy builder putting up those overpriced houses, right?" "Yeah," I said quietly. When I opened it in my truck, my hands shook. It was a legal notice from Cassandra's attorney, Brian Kerr. 3 pages of legal jargon that boiled down to one message: "Stop trespassing or we'll sue you for harassment." Attached was a photo of my truck, taken from inside the subdivision, with my license plate circled in red marker. Handwritten on the bottom, "Document everything." I drove straight to Lydia's office and slapped the letter on her desk. She read it, then laughed. Not a polite laugh, a real one. "They're documenting their own fraud," she said. "Every letter, every photo, every time they acknowledge you, it proves they know there's a dispute. And they're still building. This is gold." "Doesn't feel like gold," I said. "Feels like harassment." "It is," she said. "But let them dig deeper. We'll file after the holidays when no one's paying attention." Then she slid me a legal pad. "In the meantime, find me everything you can on Cassandra Whitfield. Public records, property filings, business licenses. I want to know who's really funding her." So I did. Nights and weekends, I became my own private investigator. I dug through Boulder County's online records like a miner panning for gold. Whitfield Development, LLC. Registered in Delaware. Always a bad sign. Delaware companies are the go-to hiding spots for people who don't want to be found. Funding came from a Denver investment group called Summit Ridge Capital. 3 partners, one of them Cassandra's husband, Patrick Whitfield. He'd been sued before, for fraud, for selling defective properties, even for embezzlement, but the cases had been quietly settled. This wasn't just Cassandra's scam. It was a family business, and the deeper I looked, the uglier it got. The county's permit filings showed the land was acquired via adverse possession, but there was no court judgment. They hadn't even won the claim. They just filed it and started building. That's not a mistake. That's fraud, premeditated, documented, bold. I sent everything to Lydia in a secure email. She called an hour later, excitement in her voice for the first time. "Dakota, this is better than I hoped. If we can prove they knew you owned the land, this becomes criminal." "Not civil, criminal. How do we prove it?" I asked. "Don't worry," she said. "That's my specialty." A week later, the Whitfields tried a new tactic: bureaucratic sabotage. I got a call from Boulder County Code Enforcement. The officer, Rick Paulson, sounded tired. "Mr. Flint, we received a report that you're operating an illegal dumping site on parcel 559-324-08. "What?" I said. "I don't even live there." "The complaint says there's construction debris, abandoned vehicles, maybe hazardous waste. I have to inspect it." When I arrived, the land was spotless, except for the 96 houses they'd built without permission. Rick met me at the gate, clipboard in hand. He walked around for 20 minutes, then shook his head. "There's nothing here. False report." "Who filed it?" He checked his notes. "Anonymous tip, but it came through Whitfield Development's office. So Cassandra had reported me for violating my own land." Rick looked at me for a long time. "Off the record," he said, "I've inspected 6 of her projects. Every single one had fake complaints filed against neighboring landowners before permits were finalized. It's a pattern." He handed me his card. "If you ever need a witness statement, call me." I drove home with that card burning a hole in my pocket and anger pounding in my chest. Cassandra wasn't just stealing my property. She was trying to bury me under paperwork and lies while the paint dried on her stolen houses. But what she didn't know, what no one knew except Lydia, was that every move she made was adding weight to the evidence. By Christmas, 84 houses were occupied. Kids were building snowmen in yards that technically belonged to me, and Lydia had just set our court date, January 12th. I thought that would be the turning point. I was wrong. That's when Cassandra decided to destroy my life. January 4th, 8 days before my court date. It was almost midnight when my phone buzzed. A message from my daughter, Emma. "Dad, are you getting arrested? Someone posted online that you've been harassing families in a neighborhood. It has hundreds of shares." My stomach dropped. I opened Facebook, an app I hadn't touched since my divorce, and there it was. A post pinned at the top of the Boulder County Community Watch group, written by none other than Cassandra Whitfield. "Alert! Local man, Dakota Flint, has been stalking residents of our family-friendly community, taking photos of children, making people feel unsafe. He claims to own our neighborhood despite clear legal title. The sheriff is aware. Please report any sightings and protect your families." The comments were a bonfire of ignorance. "Creep. Should be locked up. One person even posted a photo of my truck, my license plate visible. "This is his vehicle. Stay away." I sat frozen, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack my ribs. I called Lydia immediately. She answered on the first ring. "I saw it," she said before I could speak. "Do not respond. Don't comment. Don't even defend yourself." "She's calling me a predator," I said. "My daughter's crying. My son just texted me asking if I'm going to jail." "I know," she said softly. "It's defamation. We'll add it to the lawsuit. But right now silence is your best weapon." "Silence?" I shouted. "She's destroying my name." "Dakota," she said, calm but firm. "This is what guilty people do when they're cornered. Screenshot everything, every comment, every share. We'll turn her smear campaign into evidence." So I did. For hours I took screenshots until my eyes blurred. By midnight the post had nearly 1,000 shares. Someone had even made a hashtag, Stop Dakota Flint. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning my boss called me into his office. Martin was a good man, an ex-Navy guy who'd run our engineering firm for over a decade. He closed the door and sighed. "Dakota, I got a call from a client this morning. They found something online about you, some situation." "The Facebook post," I said quietly. He nodded. "Yeah, they're a school district. They asked if you'd be working on their project. I told them no for now. Effective today, you're on paid leave for 2 weeks while this clears up." "Paid leave?" I repeated. "Look," he said, rubbing his face. "I know you're a good man, but clients get nervous about optics. Get it handled and you're back. If not..." He didn't finish. He slid an envelope across the desk. I took it without a word. On my way out I passed Jenny from accounting, the woman who'd brought cookies to work every Christmas. She saw me, hesitated, then crossed to the other side of the hallway. That's when it hit me. Cassandra wasn't just attacking my lawsuit. She was destroying my life, my job, my reputation, my ability to even walk down Main Street without whispers following me. I sat in my truck for an hour, staring at nothing. Then I called Lydia again. "They're winning," I said. "I just got suspended from work. People are avoiding me like I'm toxic." "Not for long," she said. "I'm filing for a restraining order against Cassandra. Defamation, emotional distress, interference with business. We'll have a hearing Monday," she paused. "But Dakota, you need to know something. It's going to get worse before it gets better. If you want to settle now, I can get you maybe $500,000 and you can walk away." I thought about my grandfather's note. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." "No," I said quietly. "We finish this," she sighed. "Then brace yourself." 2 nights later, I came home and saw the word pervert spray-painted across my garage door in red. I filed a police report. The officer who came, an older guy named Patterson, looked tired before he even got out of his car. He took pictures like he was checking a box on a form. "Any idea who did this?" he asked. "Check Facebook," I said. "Probably someone who thinks they're protecting the neighborhood." He scribbled something down. "We'll increase patrols." That night, I slept with a baseball bat by the bed. January 9th, 3 days before court, my daughter called again. Crying. Someone had sent her the Facebook post with a message. "Your dad's a creep, and everyone knows it." I drove to her apartment in Fort Collins. She was on the couch, her roommate sitting beside her, both looking at me like I was radioactive. "Dad," Emma whispered, "just tell me the truth. Are you really stalking people?" I sat down and told her everything. The land, Cassandra, the houses, showed her the deed, the tax receipts, the court filings. She read them all, tears drying into fury. "She's lying about everything," she said. "Everything," I said. "Then stop letting her win. Hit back." Her words echoed in my head all night. January 11th, the night before court, I got a text from a blocked number. "Drop the lawsuit or everyone finds out what you really are." I forwarded it to Lydia. She replied instantly. "Perfect. Bring your phone to court tomorrow. We're going to bury them." The Boulder County courthouse smelled like wax and old paper, the kind of place where justice feels heavy. I met Lydia outside courtroom 3C at 8:45 a.m. She was in a navy suit sharp enough to cut glass, carrying a leather briefcase that looked like it could stop a bullet. "You ready?" she asked. "Not even close," I admitted. My hands were sweating through my jacket. "We've got enough to end them," she said. "Trust me." Inside, Cassandra sat at the defense table like a queen on a collapsing throne. Next to her was Brian Kerr, and across from them Patrick Whitfield, her husband, the man behind the money. He looked like every corporate shark I'd ever met. Gray hair, slick suit, fake calm. When Cassandra noticed me, she smiled. Not a friendly smile, a victory smile. Then Judge Ramirez entered. Mid-50s, reading glasses, zero tolerance for nonsense. Everyone stood. "Be seated," she said. "Case number 23 CV 0412, Flint versus Whitfield Development LLC. Lydia leaned toward me and whispered, "Watch this." The judge looked at Kerr. "Counsel, I received your motion to dismiss yesterday at 4:58 p.m. Care to explain that timing?" Kerr stood, pretending confidence. "Your Honor, the plaintiff's claim fails on its face. My clients hold clear title through adverse possession. Mr. Flint abandoned the property." The judge cut him off. "Did he pay property taxes?" Kerr hesitated. "Yes, but—" "Then adverse possession fails under Colorado law, Section 38-41-101, she said flatly. "What else do you have?" Kerr's face cracked like ice. "Your Honor, the title company conducted a thorough search." Lydia stood smoothly. "Your Honor, may I?" "Go ahead," the judge said. Lydia opened her briefcase and pulled out a document. "Plaintiff would like to submit Exhibit A." She handed copies to the judge and the defense. I leaned forward, trying to see. Judge Ramirez adjusted her glasses, read the first line, and raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Kerr, did you know about this email?" No, Your Honor." "It was submitted during discovery," Lydia said sweetly. "Perhaps it got lost in their office." The judge looked annoyed. "Read it into the record." Lydia nodded. "This is an internal email from Patrick Whitfield to Cassandra Whitfield, dated February 12, 2022. Then she began to read aloud. "Cass, our title attorney confirmed that the Flint parcel is not abandoned. The grandson has been paying taxes since 2019. Adverse possession will never hold up in court. If we move quickly, file the claim, get permits, and sell before anyone catches on, we can bury him in legal fees. Worst case, we finish construction and let bankruptcy clean it up like the Aspen job in 2019. Risk level, medium. Reward, $16 million gross." The courtroom went silent. I felt my pulse in my ears. They'd known. They'd known the whole time. Judge Ramirez stared at the defense table. "Is this email authentic?" Patrick's lawyer whispered something, but Cassandra spoke first. "Your Honor, that's taken out of context." The judge's eyes narrowed. "So you admit it's real?" Lydia didn't miss a beat. "Your Honor, this proves intentional fraud. They knew my client owned the land. They knew their claim was false. They built anyway, then smeared him online when he refused to surrender." Judge Ramirez leaned back in her chair. "Motion to dismiss is denied. This case proceeds to trial on an expedited schedule. In the meantime, I'm issuing a restraining order. The defendants are prohibited from selling or transferring any property in Ridgeline Heights." Then she looked straight at Cassandra. "And if I see one more Facebook post, one more false report, or one more attempt to intimidate Mr. Flint, I'll hold you in contempt of court. Am I clear?" Cassandra's face drained of color. "Yes, Your Honor." The gavel came down. Lydia packed up her papers calmly while I just sat there, stunned. Outside in the hallway, she grinned for the first time since I'd met her. That email came from a whistleblower, one of Patrick's old business partners. "He got burned in that Aspen deal they mentioned." "How'd you find him?" I asked. She smiled. "Let's just say I'm very good at my job. That night I bought a bottle of whiskey I couldn't afford and sat on my porch watching snow drift through the trees. My phone buzzed nonstop. Emma, my son Tyler, my buddy Marcus, even my ex-wife Jennifer, all saying the same thing. Congratulations. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. Then Lydia texted me at 9:47 p.m. My office, 10 a.m., tomorrow. Bring coffee. We're building the kill shot. The next morning, I showed up at Lydia's office with 2 large coffees and a box of donuts. It felt like the least I could do before we planned someone's legal funeral. Her conference room looked like something out of a detective show. A giant whiteboard covered one wall, names, arrows, dates, and red circles connecting everything like a web. "You brought donuts," she said, taking one without hesitation. "Good start. Now let's make history." I looked at the board. "What is all this?" "This," she said, tapping her marker, "is how we turn your property dispute into a criminal case." She drew a circle around Patrick and Cassandra Whitfield. The email was our grenade. Now we bring the artillery. Lydia had spent all night with her paralegal tracing every project the Whitfields had touched in the past decade. There were 7, all in Colorado mountain towns. All followed the same pattern: find land with fuzzy ownership, file aggressive claims, build fast, sell faster, then vanish before the lawsuits caught up. "They're not developers," she said. "They're land pirates with LLCs." I stared at the board, realizing this wasn't about one stolen property. It was an empire built on fraud. "What makes my case different?" I asked. She pointed to a folder on the table. "Your grandfather. His records. Every tax receipt, every survey, every note. You can prove ownership from 1971 to today. Most people they robbed couldn't." She flipped the folder open. "That's why we're going nuclear." I raised an eyebrow. "Define nuclear." Phase 1, Depositions. We put Patrick, Cassandra, their attorney, their title company, and every contractor who pulled a permit under oath. Someone always cracks, usually the title company. They never want to lose their license. I nodded. My divorce lawyer had explained depositions once. You sit in a room, answer questions while a stenographer types everything. And if you lie, a lawyer like Lydia will catch it eventually. Phase 2, she continued. We file an amended complaint under RICO. The racketeering law? I asked. Exactly. Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. If we can prove a pattern of fraud across multiple projects, and we can, it becomes a federal case. That means triple damages. She wrote it on the whiteboard in big black numbers. 4.2 million, 3, 12.6 million. My mouth went dry. Can they even pay that? She grinned. No, which is why they'll settle. But here's the fun part. Patrick and Cassandra personally guaranteed their construction loans. When their company collapses, the banks come for everything. The cars, the vacation home, the jewelry, even the Rolex she flashed in your face. I couldn't help smiling. You really enjoy this, don't you? I love when greed eats itself, she said simply. So what do you need from me? 3 things, she said, counting on her fingers. 1. Document every single visit you made to the property. Dates, photos, names, even that deputy who warned you off. I pulled out my phone. I've been keeping a log since September. Her eyebrows lifted. You're a dream client. 2, she continued. We need witnesses. Anyone who's seen how the Whitfields operate, former employees, neighbors, contractors they stiffed. Anyone willing to talk. I remembered what the code enforcement officer had told me. Every Whitfield project had fake complaints against nearby landowners. I know where to start, I said. Good. Now 3, Lydia said, leaning forward, eyes sharp. We go public, but not Facebook. That's her playground. We use real journalism. She pulled a card from her folder. Patricia Hughes, investigative reporter, Channel 9 Denver. She's exposed corrupt county officials and slumlords. 2 Emmys. Loves a corporate fraud story. You want me on TV? I asked, stunned. I want us on TV, she corrected. You, me, and the families who bought those homes thinking they were safe. Because those 96 homeowners, they're not your enemies, Dakota. They're victims, too. When this is over, they'll keep their houses free and clear. And Cassandra will have nothing left. She handed me a folder labeled Deposition Schedule. Inside were dates, questions, and a list of witnesses. Patrick. Whitfield was up first. Then Cassandra. Then the title company. When this is over, I said. How much do I owe you? Lydia smirked. Less than you think. The court will make them pay my fees. About 60 grand, I chuckled. So they'll fund their own defeat. Exactly, she said, standing. That's the beautiful thing about justice done right. It's self-sustaining. I left her office at noon feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Purpose. For the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was fighting back. Justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about building something that would last. And I had the receipts. January 18th. The sky over Denver was clear, the mountains glowing white in the distance like quiet witnesses. I walked into a glass-walled conference room on the 14th floor of an office building that smelled like espresso and expensive lies, the kind of place where people smiled while stealing millions. Patrick Whitfield was already there. Charcoal suit, silver watch, fake calm. Beside him sat his attorney, Diane Kelso, a woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue, the kind of lawyer who could make "good morning" sound like a threat. He didn't look at me once. The court reporter, a petite woman with a steno machine clicking like insects, swore him in. Lydia sat across the table, posture perfect, voice calm. Mr. Whitfield, she began, state your name and occupation for the record. He did. Each word clipped, rehearsed. Then she slid a paper across the table. The email. The grenade. Do you recognize this? Patrick glanced down. Yes. Did you write it? Yes. So you knew, back in February 2022, that my client, Mr. Flint, was the legal owner of the Old Mill Road property. Diane leaned forward. Don't answer that. Lydia's tone didn't change. The court granted a discovery order, counselor. He has to answer. Patrick shifted in his chair. I knew someone named Flint was listed on county records, yes, but our title company told us the property was effectively abandoned. Which title company? Lydia asked. Rocky Mountain Title Group. Lydia made a note. Thank you. She didn't say it, but we both knew what that meant. The title company was next, and they'd throw him under the bus before losing their license. For 2 hours, she dismantled him, question by question. His answers started confident, then cracked. By the end, his shirt collar was damp, and his attorney kept whispering, damage control. When Lydia finally said, no further questions, Patrick practically bolted out of the room. Diane lingered. She looked at Lydia with something close to respect. Your client should settle, she said quietly. Your client should have thought of that before committing fraud, Lydia shot back. $10 million. All 96 homes transferred to the current residents at cost. Plus a written apology. Diane actually laughed. He'll never agree to that, Lydia smiled. Then I'll see him in court, with Channel 9 watching. 2 days later, the retaliation started. My son Tyler called me, voice shaking. Dad? A guy in a suit came to the restaurant. Said he was a private investigator. Asked my manager if I'd ever been violent, if you were dangerous. My blood ran cold. What was his name? He gave me a card. Thomas Brennan, Apex Investigations. I told Tyler not to talk to him again and hung up, my hands shaking. Then I called Lydia and left a voicemail that probably sounded half-crazed. She called back an hour later. I know, she said. They hired a PI to dig up dirt on you. Classic intimidation tactic. He went after my son, I snapped. That's not intimidation. That's war. It's also witness tampering, she said, her voice turning cold. And that's a felony. Forward me a picture of the business card. I'll file a motion first thing tomorrow. But they weren't done. A week later, I got an email from the IRS. Notice of audit. They were reviewing my last 3 years of returns. Claimed there were irregularities reported by a third party. I'm a W-2 employee. No business write-offs. No offshore accounts. Nothing to audit. I forwarded it to Lydia. She called instantly. They're panicking. This is how rich people fight. They throw money at problems until they disappear. I can't afford an IRS investigation, I said. You won't have to, she replied. We'll subpoena the investigator's client list. If the Whitfields filed a false report, that's another criminal count. She paused, her tone softening. Dakota, listen to me. Desperate people make stupid mistakes. They're giving us more ammunition every day. January 25th. The storm hit. Someone leaked the Ridgeline Heights sales contracts to a Denver real estate blog. Every buyer, every sale. The headline read, "Luxury homes built on stolen land. Buyers may lose everything." My phone lit up with messages from homeowners, some furious, others terrified. One woman, Lydia Chen, house hunter 67, called me in tears. "We put everything we had into this house," she said. "Now the title company says our insurance won't cover fraud. Are we going to lose it?" I swallowed hard. "No, ma'am. I'm not trying to take your home. I'm trying to take down the people who lied to both of us. But if you win," she asked, "what happens to us?" "You'll keep your homes," I said, hoping I was telling the truth. "They'll pay for what they did." When I hung up, I sat in silence for a long time, because the truth was, I didn't know how it would end. That night, Lydia called. "Channel 9 wants to interview you," she said. "Patricia Hughes, the reporter I mentioned, she's doing a segment on predatory developers. It airs next week. What do I say?" "The truth. That you're fighting for your grandfather's legacy. That you're not the bad guy Cassandra is. And those families deserve justice too." I thought about Lydia Chen's voice breaking on the phone. "Set it up," I said. January 30th. Channel 9. Denver pulled up to my driveway with a white van full of lights, cables, and more cameras than I'd ever seen. Patricia Hughes. The reporter stepped out first. Mid-40s, gray streaks in her ponytail, jeans and a blazer that said, "I chase the truth, not trends." Behind her was Steve, the cameraman, quiet, polite, all business. Patricia shook my hand. "Mr. Flint, thank you for letting us do this. I've covered land fraud for 12 years. I've never seen anything this bold." Bold wasn't the word I'd use. But I nodded. "We filmed in my living room. I'd cleaned it the night before like it was an inspection. Laundry hidden, table cleared, grandfather's deed laid neatly in front of me." Patricia sat across from me, mic clipped to her blazer. "Just talk to me, not the camera," she said. "Pretend we're two people having coffee." The interview lasted almost 2 hours. She asked about everything. My grandfather, the land, the day I found the subdivision, Cassandra's threats, the Facebook campaign. I told her everything. I didn't sugarcoat it. I even showed her the spray-painted garage door photo. She listened carefully, occasionally glancing at her notes, occasionally looking straight into my eyes like she was memorizing every word. When we finished, she turned off the mic and said quietly, "Off the record, I reached out to Cassandra for comment." I raised an eyebrow. "And?" She threatened to sue us for defamation if we aired the story. I couldn't help but laugh. "So you're still running it?" Patricia smiled. "Absolutely. Threats mean I'm getting close to the truth." The story aired on February 2nd at 6 p.m. I watched it alone with a beer I didn't drink. Patricia's voice opened the segment. He inherited the American dream, a 47-acre forest in Colorado. But when Dakota Flint returned after 3 years, he found 96 houses instead. The screen showed aerial drone footage, rows of identical beige homes where pine trees used to stand. Then it cut to my interview. I told them about my grandfather's note. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." They showed the tax receipts, the photos, even a copy of Patrick's incriminating email. Then Patricia dropped the real bombshell. County records showing that Whitfield Development fast-tracked its building permits, right after donating $50,000 to a county commissioner's re-election fund. When the segment ended, Patricia's final words echoed through my house. "What's at stake isn't just one man's land. It's the question of whether the law still protects regular people when money tries to erase them." My phone exploded. Emma called crying, this time from Pride. Tyler texted, "Dad, you just became a legend." Marcus wrote, "You're officially a folk hero." Even my boss emailed, "Come back to work Monday. We're proud to have you." For the first time in months, the world believed me. Then, at 7:15 p.m., A message popped up from a blocked number. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I forwarded it to Lydia. She called immediately. Dakota, listen carefully. From now on, you don't go anywhere alone. Lock your doors. Change your routines. You think they'd actually? She cut me off. They're staring down 10 years in federal prison and financial ruin. People like that don't think rationally. 2 days later, she was proven right. I came home from grocery shopping on February 4th, and my front door was open, just slightly, but open. I'd locked it that morning. I was sure. I stood on the porch, pulse pounding, and dialed 911. Deputy Torres arrived first. The same young cop who'd warned me months ago. He and another officer cleared the house, guns drawn. Nothing was stolen. But on my kitchen table sat a single sheet of paper. 5 words printed in all caps: drop it or lose everything. Torres bagged it as evidence. We'll check for prints, he said. But if they were smart, they wore gloves. This is the Whitfields, I said. They broke into my house, he hesitated. Can you prove that? I couldn't. But a few hours later, proof came to my door. Literally. My neighbor Carol knocked around dusk. 70 years old. Retired librarian, the kind of woman who notices everything. Dakota, she said, I saw a black SUV in your driveway yesterday around noon. Man in a suit got out, went up to your door, stayed about 10 minutes, then left. I thought he was selling insurance, but I wrote down the plate, just in case. She handed me a yellow sticky note with the number KLM 4892. I gave it to Torres. He ran it. The car was registered to Apex Investigations, Thomas Brennan, the same private investigator who'd harassed my son. Breaking and entering is a felony, Torres said carefully. But without video, it's hard to prove intent. So they just get away with it? I asked. He sighed. We'll file a report. But Mr. Flint, you might want to stay somewhere else for a while. That night I slept on Emma's couch in Fort Collins, the baseball bat leaning against the wall next to me. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just about land anymore. It was survival. February 6th, 3 days before trial. My phone buzzed at 8 a.m. Lydia's name on the screen. When I answered, she sounded almost cheerful. The title company flipped. What? Rocky Mountain Title Group is cooperating. They admitted Patrick paid them $45,000 under the table to fast-track the title approval. They're turning over everything, emails, payment logs, even recorded calls. So that's it? I asked. We have them? Oh, we have them, she said. But Cassandra knows it too. Their attorney called begging for a settlement meeting. What did you say? I said no. Silence hung between us for a moment. Dakota, she added quietly, we're 3 days away. Stay safe, stay quiet, and get ready to watch everything burn. The snow fell hard that week. I stayed with Emma in Fort Collins, restless, replaying every threat, every email, every late-night knock I'd heard in my head. By the morning of February 9th, I was done being scared. I put on the same gray suit I'd worn for the first hearing, still too tight in the shoulders, and drove to Boulder with Emma riding shotgun. She insisted on coming, said family should be there when justice finally lands. The courthouse was packed. 2 news vans out front, cameras pointed at the entrance. Channel 9 was there, along with a local Boulder station. Patricia Hughes waved when she saw me, but I kept my head down. Lydia had been clear. No interviews before the verdict. Inside courtroom 3C, the air buzzed with tension. Half the Ridgeline Heights homeowners had shown up, faces pale, anxious. I spotted Lydia Chen in the 3rd row, hands clasped like she was praying. At the defense table sat Cassandra and Patrick, flanked by 4 attorneys. Cassandra wore a cream-colored suit and a frozen smile. Patrick looked older, tired, maybe for the first time in his life. Judge Ramirez entered. Court is now in session. She looked around the crowded room. This is not a media circus. Anyone who disrupts will be removed. Understood? The murmurs quieted. Lydia rose. Your Honor, this case is about theft. Not the kind that happens in dark alleys. But the kind that hides behind contracts and LLCs. She walked toward the bench, her voice low but sharp enough to cut steel. My client, Mr. Flint, inherited 47 acres of Colorado land. He paid taxes every year. He had the deed, the records, the proof. The defendants knew that, and they built 96 houses anyway. Then when he stood up for his rights, they tried to destroy his name, his career, his family. She paused and lifted a poster-sized copy of Patrick's email. This document shows they knew the land was not abandoned. They knew the claim was false, and they calculated that an honest man couldn't afford to fight them. Her tone hardened. But they made one mistake. They picked the wrong man. Then she turned toward the defense table. They didn't just steal his land. They tried to ruin his life. They sent private investigators after his children, filed false IRS reports, spread lies online, all while continuing to profit from a crime. She returned to her seat. Your Honor, we're not asking for sympathy. We're asking for justice, with receipts. The room was silent. Even the reporters stopped typing. Then it was the defense's turn. Diane Kelso stood and tried to sound composed. Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. The title company made an error. My clients acted in good faith, relying on professional advice. Judge Ramirez didn't even hide her skepticism. The same title company that accepted a $45,000 bribe? Diane hesitated. That claim is proven, Lydia interrupted, holding up the evidence file. Documented and sworn. The judge motioned for her to continue. The trial dragged on for hours. Lydia called witnesses one by one. The representative from the title company admitted they'd taken the payment. Code Enforcement Officer Rick Paulson testified about the fake complaints. Deputy Torres confirmed Cassandra's harassment reports were fabricated. And then came the ledgers. My grandfather's meticulous records, handwritten in ink that still smelled faintly of tobacco. Lydia held them up like relics. These books prove 50 years of continuous ownership, she said. The Whitfields built their empire on lies, and now those lies are collapsing. When Patrick took the stand, the tension in the room felt electric. Lydia was surgical. Mr. Whitfield, did you approve payments to the title company? I don't recall, he said. Did you send an email instructing your wife to proceed before a judgment was filed? I'd have to check. So you don't deny it? He hesitated. I'm saying I'd have to review the context. Context, Lydia repeated. Like the context where you wrote, we can bury him in litigation until he settles cheap? The courtroom gasped. Patrick stammered. His lawyer objected, but Judge Ramirez overruled it. By the time Lydia finished, he looked crushed. Cassandra refused to testify, pleading the fifth. Her attorneys kept her silent, probably the only smart decision they made that year. At 4:47 p.m., Judge Ramirez announced she'd issue her ruling the next day. We walked out into the hallway, and I was immediately surrounded by the homeowners. Are we losing our homes? Sarah Chen asked, voice trembling. No, I said firmly. You're victims too. When this is over, you'll own your homes free and clear. The room fell quiet. Then someone clapped. Another joined. Within seconds, the hall filled with applause. Cassandra walked by with her lawyers, eyes burning holes through me. For the first time, I saw something behind that perfect face. Fear. Outside, the cameras waited. Patricia Hughes called out, Mr. Flint, how do you feel? I looked at the mountains in the distance, snow catching the last bit of light. I think my grandfather's proud, I said. That night, the clip hit social media. 3 million views in 12 hours. And the next morning, Judge Ramirez released her verdict. Judge Ramirez's ruling was 18 pages long, but I only needed the first paragraph. The defendants engaged in a deliberate, systematic scheme to defraud Mr. Dakota Flint of his lawful property through false adverse possession filings, bribery, and intentional misrepresentation. Such conduct is reprehensible and will not be tolerated by this court. We'd won. Every single thing Cassandra and Patrick built was now mine. All 47 acres, all 96 houses. The order awarded me $4.2 million in damages for trespass, emotional distress, and loss of use. It also required the Whitfields to pay Lydia's legal fees, $73,000, and referred the case to the U.S. Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution. Within a week, Whitfield Development was gone. Their company dissolved. The Range Rover, the Aspen vacation home, even Cassandra's diamond watch went to auction. Patrick faced 6 counts of federal fraud. Cassandra took a plea deal, 3 years probation, $500,000 restitution, and a lifetime ban from Colorado real estate development. The title company lost its license. Their attorney resigned before he could be disbarred. Justice wasn't quick, but it was complete. Then came the hard part, what to do with 96 homes I now legally owned. I could have sold them, kicked everyone out, and walked away with millions. The law would have let me. But when I stood in front of those houses, kids playing in driveways, dogs barking behind fences, I didn't see enemies. I saw families, teachers, nurses, veterans, people who had been lied to just like me, so I called a community meeting inside the unfinished clubhouse Cassandra had promised but never built. All 96 families showed up. The room buzzed with fear and whispers. I took a deep breath. "I know you're scared," I said. "You bought these homes in good faith. You did nothing wrong, and I'm not here to punish you for someone else's crime." The room went silent. "I'm creating a nonprofit trust," I said. "The Ridgeline Heights Community Trust. Each of you will own your home through that trust, at the price you already paid. No new mortgages, no interest. If you still have payments left, you'll finish them to the trust at 0 interest." Gasps. Then tears. "The money will cover maintenance, taxes, and a scholarship fund in my grandfather's name." He believed land was about legacy, not profit. Someone started clapping. Then everyone did. People hugged, cried, thanked me like I'd saved them, when really they'd saved me, from bitterness, from becoming like the Whitfields. That summer, we launched the William Flint Memorial Scholarship, $10,000 a year for a Colorado student studying engineering, forestry, or environmental science. Emma helped design the application website. Tyler grilled burgers at the launch party. Even my ex-wife showed up, told me she was proud. I kept 5 acres for myself at the north end of the property, the part with the old pines my grandfather refused to cut. Built a small 2-bedroom cabin there. Nothing fancy, just wood, quiet, and peace. Every morning, I drink coffee on the porch, watch deer move through the trees, and think about the man who taught me that land isn't just dirt, it's memory. Patricia Hughes did a follow-up story in December, From Property Theft to Community Triumph, how one man turned injustice into legacy. It won her another Emmy. On my fridge, there's a drawing from Lydia Chen's little girl, a crayon picture of a house with a stick figure labeled Mr. Dakota holding a giant deed. I look at it every day. Sometimes I still hear my grandfather's voice in my head. "Don't let the bastards take what's yours." He was right. But what's mine isn't just the land anymore. It's the families who sleep safely because I didn't quit. It's the scholarship that helps a kid chase their dream. It's proof that sometimes the little guy really can beat the machine. So here's my question for you. Have you ever faced a bully, a company, an HOA, a system, that thought they could crush you because they had money and you didn't? Tell your story. Let's build a library of how regular people fight back. And if this one meant something to you, if it reminded you that good people can still win, hit that subscribe button. Because I've got more stories. Stories about underdogs outsmarting the machine. Stories with receipts. Next week, City Council denied my business permit. So I found the bylaw that made me untouchable. See you then. And remember, keep your receipts. All of them.